Hello guys, Michael Bland with S.I.S Global Investigations. Wanted to make this video. Been working on this for several days now and wanted to do this for everybody and kind of bring up the details on this Trump shooting. And basically, mentioning 100 things I told myself I was going to try to compile on this that basically were red flags, things that don't add up, facts, details. Tried to keep it to things that were not rumors and not conspiracy, but things that were actual factual, just like we do in all of our investigations. And wanted to just try to make an informative video that I felt was going to be the best video out there. I hadn't seen anyone sit down and compile 100 things. So I'm pretty exhausted right now. Been doing actual other investigations, which we're paid to do, among, life and everything else. So it's been a very, very long week. So again, this is just something I did on the side here. And so hopefully everybody likes this video and appreciates the time I put into this. So I'm just going to knock these out. Again, there's 100 things. Some of them are kind of similar / same topics, but I try to get it as organized and separated as I could. Hopefully I don't have anything where I mentioned it more than once, but I think there was a couple in there. It was a lot of info to try to keep straight. And again, this was just something I literally did on the side. And just, something I wanted to take upon, try to put out there. So anyways, I'm just going to dive into this. He had a rifle that was stashed at the scene prior to the shooting. The advance team, for any protection detail like this, it's basically their sole job to mitigate threats, assess the area, prevent any openings at all. There was no large banners or flags placed on the sides, which could have blocked a shot from a shooter. The perimeter was only like a 200-yard perimeter. It literally should have been 500 to 600 yards around or further. The fact that 20-year-old guy who has basically no training is beating out some, elite U.S. snipers. The snipers that were on the scene and other law enforcement were literally inside the building. What they were even doing in there, to this date and time, no one even knows, at least, and I've never heard. And that's the main question from all this. I would love to know is what the law enforcement that was in the building was doing, gallivanting around when this was going on. He was reported suspicious an hour before, and that time even keeps growing longer and longer. The SWAT team saw him 2 minutes before shots were fired. Neighbors were never contacted before, during, or after this entire event to even vet if anyone living near there was even safe to even have the event near the neighborhood. Someone could have been living there that was an extremist, didn't like Trump, had weapons, taken up a sniper position, but they would have never known because no one ever interviewed any neighbors from Secret Service, FBI, DHS, all these federal agencies we have. The Butler Township manager had actually asked for more manpower and more resources, sent an email to law enforcement, to the feds, whoever, never received a call or an email back. That was obviously pretty concerning. Now they're saying that crooks had alleged encrypted accounts overseas. They're not saying what platforms or what they think he may have been doing, but some type of overseas, they were saying, accounts. So not sure exactly what they're going to try to say about that. Again, the Secret Service and their sniper teams, this deal was, 100% their baby, their responsibility, not the local police, not the state police, not other federal agencies. Senator Josh Hawley was told to leave the scene of the shooting, went there to try to see himself and assess what happened, and said it's extremely suspicious what's going on. The shooter was making bombs and detonators, which they found in his vehicle, detonators on him and on the rooftop. the sniper, one of the snipers left his spot to meet with the local police officer down on the ground on the scene, which, haven't been to police sniper school, haven't done SWAT training, and I'm pretty sure if you're in an Overwatch sniper position, you're going to stay there. That's obviously your job. So if you're getting down to even talk to an officer, that to me sounds extremely bizarre and very dysfunctional. I mean, that's why they make a thing called tactical communication radios. So if you're communicating, so there was also a Secret Service agent that remained anonymous that came out, and he stated that this is 100% the advanced team, their job once again to handle all of this, to literally have all of this worked out. These 100 things I'm naming off, literally that's their job, is to go down these 100 things I have right here in these papers and to prevent them. Instead, everyone was basically facilitating this. The dad called in, the son was missing and the weapon was missing, and was extremely concerned. Every law enforcement officer at that event should have had a picture of this son and the type of weapon system he had and be keeping a lookout. That's all just common sense there. And I'll get back to that later. I'm probably going to make a video just on that topic. The Secret Service supervisor, Cheeto lady, she was unprepared when questioned about this. I mean, she's so far been unprepared about everything, so that doesn't entirely surprise me. But, yeah, so she was unprepared when questioned. Another thing, no one's buying this incident, by the way. No one is literally buying anything about this. The fact you have millions, 300 million Americans and everyone else around the globe all agreeing that this is basically a total bullshit story tells me everything I need to know right there, besides it being a 30-year investigator. Also, the Secret Service said that there was basically not, enough. They didn't have the communications they should have had between, the interagency there. There was no, the snipers didn't know what local police were hearing on the radio, or local SWAT guys or local snipers. They said normally there's a local officer detached with the sniper unit. So they're hearing what's coming across his radio in this case. They would have been hearing real time the disturbance, guy on the roof with the weapon. No, that never happened. Again, going out of their way to make sure that, total malfeasance, failure to perform your duty in law enforcement, which is a crime, by the way. I know because I was a police officer for 20 years. So, he had no social media, meaning Crooks, the shooter. They saw him with a duffel bag. He was jumping roof to roof, working his way to the building. He used a bike to conduct reconnaissance of the area. He flew a drone over the site beforehand as well. Female agent was a very small stature, basically obese woman, not tall enough to protect anyone. Had rounds been coming in and she was shielding the president. The suspect was literally tracking the president's movements. The suspect was looking up president pics online. The female agent was not trained proficiently in firearms, otherwise she would have been able to holster her weapon. The female agent was not tall enough, I had mentioned that, and then they get into the thing with her too on saying that it was a, filling a quota to hire her. They said they were trying to hire more women, but again, in anything in the real world, you should be hiring people that are qualified for the job, trained, and are going to be able to perform the job. Race, sex, sexual preferences, all this other stuff, it doesn't matter. But unfortunately, the world we're living in, with its politically correctness, they're more worried about offending people than, in this case, protecting the president. But I'll also get in later in other videos, if you like, about her inability to handle the weapon, manipulate the weapon, holster the weapon, basically turning into a total comedy show. Again, the politically correctness and the hiring being an issue now. The Soros family allegedly said 7 months ago that they were going to take Trump out. A guy was at the range the day before with the shooter, and then that gentleman was later contacted by FBI and interviewed and asked if he had any interaction with him. And he had said that he had mentioned brought up politics to Crooks, and that the Matthew Crooks did not respond and just kind of smiled and remained quiet. The guy thought that was a little odd, and it said that Crooks was doing an extremely great job at the range, shooting his target long range, which is also interesting. He was kicked off of his high school shooting team. They said he was a comically bad shot. I'll also get on that topic later and what I think about his performance shooting. When the Secret Service sniper who came forward to talk about this incident was asked if he's ever really worked under any directors of Secret Service that knew their job, he said no, that all of them except for one gentleman, and I can't remember that guy's name, it was years back, he said everyone else has been in empty suit and was not even aware of what the specialized units really did. He said he himself was a sniper, and the directors often didn't even know what he was out doing. They would be asking him to go get reconnaissance and intelligence or securing a scene, and he was like, sir, literally I've been doing this the last 12 hours, without respect. And they literally had no idea what he was even doing out there. And they were in command of him. He said this is literally definition of insanity. Snipers said that all threat areas must be covered 100%. There cannot be, when you're doing the advanced team / sniper work, reconnaissance, whatever, that you're looking at it from the vantage point of the guy who, in this case, like the president, the route he's going to travel, basically what you're going to see from his viewpoint, right? The guy, if you're the target, if you will. So, and then when you see those vantage points or areas around could be coming from a threat, bullet, rocket, grenade, IED, whatever, drone attack, you're going to then try to figure out how to eliminate that from ever happening. So clearly none of that was done. Not when you have buildings 148 yards away. So he said generally also, literally from the airport to the travel route to the area we're going to be speaking as a president, all these areas, all these angles, all these loopholes, all these windows, these doorways, these buildings, roadways, intersections, ambush points, all covered. This was not done. The way he explained the protocol is nothing. The normal protocol and the protection details for presidents, he said, is nothing like how this incident unfolded at all, not even close. He said there was no local cops. Again, I did mention that earlier, posted with the sniper team to have transparency or basically streamlined communications, if you will. Tactical comms on everybody having real-time info. It literally shows the level of dysfunction. Again, I've worked in law enforcement from 97 to 2013, and the fact that literally nothing is really improved. I mean, the technology, the training, the fact that this happened this way, the fact that you don't have communications going on, left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, is beyond comical. So let's see here. Yeah, other thing is with the threats, that the fact that this was a known threat, a day, hours, minutes, 1, 2, 3 hours, they're all debating that, but 100% sure 30 minutes before the president was going to get up and speak, and they let him get on the stand and speak. Should have been canceled, delayed. They should have been dealing with the threat, which was this guy walking around with a rangefinder and doing recon in front of everyone of the scene and in front of the snipers who were taking his picture along with the police officers, taking a picture of Crooks, literally doing reconnaissance on the scene and saying he looked suspicious. The Secret Service sniper who also came forward said that there was no one in their places they should have been assigned to, meaning people protecting the president. There should have been people all over the place, and obviously on these rooftops. The cops saw him when they climbed up on the roof, and then they stumbled / fell, and they retreated and they ran from the shooter. Again, I said that earlier too. Yes, the son's father called the cops. Again, that's, to me, out of all of this, I can make a video on that and why I key on that as a retired cop and as a private investigator, on that being the single most important factor of this entire deal to me. That's where I focus in on, is that's why this was 1000% preventable. People saw him on the roof. They warned the cops. There was no cops. There was no security. There was no deputies. There was no drones. There was no choppers. There was no airplanes. They did not really rush Trump away even when he was shot. I haven't really heard anyone. They said they did a good job protecting him, but I don't agree with that, because generally the protocol is, again, to surround them, yes, and then whisk them away, get them out of the kill box. Instead, there was numerous rounds that just kept coming in. The Secret Service agent, again, she couldn't holster her weapon. Sniper was taking the pictures of the shooter, which is insane. The people saw him walking around by himself and by the magnetometers and wondering what he was doing alone. There were buildings all over the place, and these buildings, and trees, different yardage. Again, getting into a perimeter issue. There was various spots that someone could have fired from. The spot he did fire from was extremely obvious, hide spot. Also the perfect distance, by the way, and a distance that any amateur shooter that close with a decent weapon system and spent halfway decent time at the range and with an optic would have no problem making that shot. You don't have to be a trained sniper, in other words. How did the snipers not see him and not take him out before he fired the shot? Why were the cops told not to get on the roof and provide security? And why were the cops that were there and all armed, why were they in the building, not, on the building? And it's also embarrassing and extremely comical that the shooter is literally on the building full of law enforcement. Again, what were the law enforcement doing in the building? I don't know if they were having a buffet. I don't know if they were playing Call of Duty. I don't know if they had strippers and beers going on. I don't know what they were doing in there, but it's not logical. It makes zero sense. There was no extra snipers. I don't know how many sniper teams were there. Heard there was another one, but if that's the case, that's actually even worse. That doesn't make this any better. It makes it a million times worse. So again, I don't know how many sniper teams were on the scene. I tried to research that, and plus, some of those things they do keep confidential. They may not even be letting that out, how many were there, but it sounds like it was very limited. There was no cameras. How did he have a rifle smuggled in and stashed before? Again, that's an advanced team preventing this. 200-yard security perimeter, again, makes no sense at all. Should have been much further out. Anyone can shoot 100, 200 yards. Right before also the shooting, Biden said that Trump needs to be in the crosshairs. A lot of people that did not sit well with. The director's excuse was for the snipers not being on the building, which is, a lot of people are laughing at this point. The roof was too steep for snipers to be on, which is literally their job. It's what they train for. They would literally be harnessed in or locked in or roped in, but they absolutely can be on a sloped building. You obviously find a way to mitigate that. So the feds are blaming the cops instead of taking ownership on this. Again, 100% the Secret Service's responsibility, no one else's. He was obviously killed. So if he was involved in some type of conspiracy or something involving political figures in our country or foreign adversaries, or he was working with or for someone, he was killed. So I mean, again, I have to look at that as an investigator with 30 years on and say, yes, if this was a larger conspiracy, obviously he was the witness. So then he was, the only loose end. So then he was then killed. And that also immediately crossed my mind, by the way. If he's killed, then there's no one to be questioned. At least he's the main suspect, is what I'm saying. Also the shot, again, talk about that later, was a great shot he actually made. Some people, he missed. No, he didn't miss. He hit the president in the head. President turned. Had he not turned, president would be dead. He was on the building, again, full of the cops. They said there was no resources, beefed up security for an alleged Iran threat, but no one ever elaborated on that. Who was the Iran person? Were they ever apprehended? And beefed up security. This was far from beefed up security. In fact, there was basically no security. So if there was an Iran plot to kill Trump, and they beefed up security for that. That whole thing right there is extremely concerning. Again, this is a counter sniper's job. A drone would have seen him instantly had it been flying over him and reported it. And again, directly reported that to the snipers, you know, shooter in the open, 11 o'clock, whatever, on building number 1, whatever they got it deemed as, what that area, that zone, that sector, whatever. They would have shot that guy instantly before he squeezed a round off. And as far as the Iran thing too, I actually haven't even heard that come back up now. So that was very interesting. The other side too, politically speaking, other side has been trying to stop Trump at any means, including put him in jail, which has not worked. And now, again, something leading credence to conspiracy or something else going on here. Obviously, the next thing they would try to do is just take him out, right? If they don't want him getting in. It was extremely blatant. Again, the guy was walking around with a duffel bag and a rangefinder and basically, you know, reconning the scene. I mean, and doing that in a fashion that was also extremely blatant. I mean, walking around by himself on that outer perimeter area there. Again, they knew of the threat. They did not cancel the speech. That right there, too, I mean, at that point, you are going out of your way to, make the situation happen. The fact that the feds are literally, their only defense is to just push this off on local law enforcement. It's extremely concerning. It's the most cowardice thing you can do, by the way, instead of owning up to everything or admitting what really happened. The Secret Service director said the Secret Service is not a political agency, not politicized. That is the most blatant lie there is. Any federal law enforcement agencies, unfortunately at this point, FBI, DHS, all these people, when you know them, you've worked with them, a lot of them are getting out of these agencies now, especially the FBI, because it's fully politicized. It's basically, it's to the point where it really just has ruined them, the agencies. You know, also the shooter had searched the Bethel Farms area and, you know, online doing reconnaissance of this stuff. He had visited the site. He went the day before. Secret Service is basically not cooperating much during this whole investigation, at least until they're getting ready to get forced for this oversight committee. There was no canines on the scene. They had to use other DHS agents because there was a lack of Secret Service. So they had to use personnel that are not trained in EP work to protect the president. So they were putting just bodies on the scene. Secret Service whistleblowers are now coming out and saying that there was not enough agents and that this is not protocol and this is not how the president is protected. There was no bulletproof barriers, bulletproof glass, like I said, reinforced where they could have it completely, completely blockaded off around them, where a round could not physically penetrate that. The shooter's neighbor said he was extremely odd. The shooter had purchased a ladder and actually set up the ladder. He was seen pacing around the magnetometers, again, seen by everybody in law enforcement while he was using the rangefinder. Everyone's just doing the blame shift game at this point. Again, blaming agency to agency on whose responsibility it even is to have handled this incident. And I think I kind of brought that point up numerous times. The other thing that really stood out to me is no one seems to really be in trouble about this. As far as I'm concerned, it was an extreme amount of negligence and someone was shot in the head. As far as I'm concerned, I think this should pretty much be a criminal investigation, and in the aspect of someone should be looking at charges and doing time over this. This level of negligence and the fact that that's probably never going to happen, obviously, and the fact that even the Secret Service director saying she's not going to step down, it's all just extremely disturbing. That it just seems like they're looking at the level of like, we messed up an order in the drive-thru and we're going to simply apologize. In fact, the director said this should never happen again. That's insane, first off. Should have never happened to begin with. The fact she's saying it should never happen again literally, she's already implying it could. So, I mean, it's pretty comical. To anyone who has their mindset right at all, nothing about this should make any sense to you. And again, politics even out of this, left out, the left and right, doesn't matter. We're talking about the United States. We're talking about dysfunction in law enforcement. We're talking about dysfunction in law enforcement on the federal level. We're talking about an agency that's now has a reputation in one incident completely trying to rebuild from this now. And they're going to have a tough time, and rightfully so. Also, he fit the profile perfectly of the lone wolf scenario. Out shooting, bullied in school, kicked off the high school rifle team. He had something to prove. His dad called in, he was missing with the rifle. Guy saw him at the range, said he was acting, he was, very odd. There's tons of red flags, and everybody said, oh, there was no red flags. There's hundreds. I just gave 100 right here. The snipers were also facing the shooter's direction, obviously probably because of the fact they were so concerned about what was going on with them, which again just leans credence to the fact of also he should have never got a round off. And other witnesses also said there was less security at this event than there was at other presidential speaking events, a noticeably less amount of security. So, folks, there you go. 100 reasons. Thanks for watching, guys.